Hi guys, Arvind here from Carlist.my, and today we're going to be talking about child seats. Now, child seats are the most important part of child safety in a car, and studies have shown that when a child is properly belted into a child seat, it reduces chances of injury in a collision by up to 80% and reduces the chance of fatality by up to 28%. Now, that's because child seats with their harnesses contact the strongest points of the child's body, like the shoulders and the hips, and restrain movement in the event of a crash. Now, as of next year, 2020, it's going to be mandatory for everybody who is carrying a child in a car to have them buckled up in a child seat. So we thought we'd take this opportunity to highlight the basics, tell you the do's and don'ts of restraining your child properly in a car. Today, we have the Volvo S90 T5, quite possibly one of the safest cars on the planet. The Honda Odyssey, quite possibly one of the most practical cars on the planet. And the All-Star, the Honda City, the one that does it all. And we're going to show you how we fit 3 child seats into this car. But why do we need a child seat in the first place? Now, to demonstrate that, we've come up with a very simple exercise we like to call the rice bag test. So for this, I'll need the assistance of my colleague and relatively strong Mr. Gokul. Okay, and Gokul's going to be carrying this 10 kilo bag to simulate the weight of a 1-year-old child. And he's going to be seated in the car. We're going to accelerate the car up to 50 kilometers per hour and come to a full and sudden stop. Now, just watch what happens to the bag. So as you can see, Gokul is seated at the back, all belted in, safe and sound. And I think most of us would know that this is how we typically hold our child. We just probably have 2 hands around them, and we're not going to be grabbing onto them because we want to give them space to move. So just to simulate the whole situation, this is what we're going to be working with.
Oh, mati dah.
So guys, before we go into more detail, I'd just like to give you a brief overview of the seats that we'll be discussing today. Now, we have the child carrier seat, we have the ISOFIX child seat, we have a non-ISOFIX child seat, and finally the booster seats. Now, it's important to note that there are widely varying designs from different brands at very different prices. Now, so it's important to do your research and find what suits you best at a budget that you can afford. Hi guys, now firstly we have the child carrier. Now, as you might surmise, they are primarily used to carry around children, and they're very compact and lightweight. But they are also handy because they can be belted into a car. So because they're light, they're easy to belt in, they are the easiest thing to move around between cars. Now, you just secure the lap belt, get the shoulder belt around the body, get in tight, try to restrict movement as much as possible. Now, another feature is because they're compact, they cocoon the child very well when they're seated inside. Now, these things work, they're designed to work between 0 and 13 kg, so that's about a year, maybe a bit more. But from personal experience, between the ages of 0 to 6, about 8 months, it was very handy, and we were really thankful we had one of these. Now we move on to non-ISOFIX child seats. Now, like the child carrier, they are secured in place using the car's belt system. The shoulder belt goes around the back, and the lap belt goes around the bottom half. Now, it's very important that when using a non-ISOFIX child seat, that the belts are firmly in place to limit movement while the child is in it. Now, another point to note, very important point to note, is the child must be rearward facing up to about 1 year, at which point above a year you can face the front, so you can be forward facing towards the front of the car. Unlike non-ISOFIX child seats, ISOFIX child seats utilize two standardized attachment points in the car seat with interlock with anchors on the child seat. Now, ISOFIX child seats minimize the risk of incorrect installation and offer a rigid and permanent connection to the car's body. The downsides though is that they are quite a bit heavier and quite tedious to properly install in the car, as I am now demonstrating. Now, there's a common misconception that ISOFIX child seats are safer than non-ISOFIX child seats, and that's just not true. In theory, a car seat which moves less in a collision will offer better safety, so in most cases it's not the seat, rather if they are installed properly. Studies have shown that up to 80% of child seats are not installed properly. So regardless if you have an ISOFIX or non-ISOFIX child seat, the most important aspect is proper installation of the seat and making sure that the seat harnesses hold your child firmly in place. Make sure you read and understand the installation manual or look up installation videos online if you are unsure. And there you have it. So a lesser known fact is that as children grow, typically when they are between the ages of 4 and 8, they are still not tall enough to be seated in and belted down in the regular seat. Chief of which is because if they are slightly shorter, if you belt them in, this point where the shoulder belt comes across is going to snag across their neck. Now that will cause serious injury or even death in the case of a collision. Now the solution to that is to purchase a booster seat. Now what this does is it elevates the child's body so that the belt comes across the torso, the shoulder points, and they are anchored across the hip levels, such as adults are in a car. Now, or if you're one of those lucky ones that own a Volvo, they have ingeniously created this. Voila, booster seat. Nothing quite like a Volvo, is there? So I'd like to just highlight one very, very important point. Now, under no circumstances should you place your child in a child seat in the front seat of a car with an active airbag. Airbags deploy at great speeds. Now, I think you can surmise what would happen if a child was here and the airbag was deployed. Now, certain cars have a airbag disable function, which you manually use the key to turn and disable it. But if your car doesn't, then please do not carry your child in a child seat in the front of the car. So if you're considering your next purchase to accommodate your larger family, it's important to notice a few things that you might have to look out for. Now, if you were faced with a situation like this, which probably happens like in every mall car park, you're going to want to be able to open the door to put your child in. Now, granted, the Honda City is very well designed. It's got a large door aperture, but as you can see, it's going to be a bit of a squeeze to put your child in, and also you got to be mindful of your child's head as you try and slide them into the seats. Now, there we go. I've already knocked him twice. As we go around, as we get to larger cars, like the Volvo S90 over here, you have, of course, a larger door aperture, which can be a good thing and bad thing. One, the door apertures are big, but as they have bigger doors, it becomes even harder. Oops, sorry. So, again, we have to be mindful of the child's head as we put them inside. Now, hence, for ultimate practicality, a sliding door MPV. For ultimate ease of putting your child inside, and also notice that the higher ride height means it's easier. You put less stress on your hips to transfer the child into the car, which makes, and I suppose even for SUVs you will have the same amount of convenience in terms of putting the child in, but of course the sliding doors are just godsend. So what if you have more than one child? Maybe you have two, maybe you have three. Remember we said the Honda City was the all-star? Come and take a look here. We managed to get a child carrier, a child seat and a booster seat all in the back of our humble little Honda City. So what we'd like to impress upon you is child safety is just more than child seats. It's habits, it's awareness and the discipline to keep your child, the most precious thing in your life, safe. Until next time, See you again.